Welcome back to The Rebel's Edge. My brother Pete and I will be bringing you our reaction to a ceasefire that was called and then broken just minutes later, and yet the market is whoop, whoop, whoop to the upside. What's really going on? Well, we'll break it down for you on today's Rebel's Edge. Bang!
Show me my nuclear weapons, I can't do it, I can't do it! This is the Beard of Doom rocket? This is
the Beard of Doom rocket?
I will be a laughing stock. All my friends.
I will be a laughing stock.
Where is the head of my nuclear program? Where is nuclear Nadal?
You had Nadal.
Nuclear Nadal.
You had nuclear and Nadal executed.
Supreme leader.
Nadal.
How great is that walk?
Away from refining weapons-grade uranium, we are set to test the missile next week.
It is too round on the top. It needs to be
It's
pointy.
too round at the
Round
top.
is not scary. Pointy is scary.
Elon Musk
Put a smile
quotes
on the
this all the
faces of
time.
enemy. It sticks in the ground and then
Look at the
kaboom.
beards out.
Some of your information about bombs is coming from cartoons.
Indulge me. For 1 second, pretend
For 1
that
second,
I'm an idiot.
pretend that I'm an
Okay, I'm
idiot.
there.
Okay, I'm there.
Okay. You know
It
what?
didn't take him
Let's
long.
just agree to disagree, my friend.
What? Why? No!
Don't you remember?
How dare you question my memory? I'm so sorry, I didn't mean that.
Don't worry, it's fine.
See, there's always room for humor.
Oh, man. And Pete, this is life imitating art now.
Oh,
Because
yes.
that, of course, occurs, folks, when things play out in the Mideast with these guys exactly the way that Sacha Baron Cohen did in his movie. So,
Yeah. The dictator.
oh, well, he is Pete Najarian. He's not a dictator, although his beard is becoming, your beard is becoming more.
This is trimmed up, man. It's all, I gotta go.
Pete, I'm telling you the truth. Elon Musk quotes that all the time because he said, "Why do you make it so pointy on top?" And he said, "Well, because, it's got to look scary. It doesn't look scary if it's round." And Honda, of all companies, Pete, Honda in Japan launched a big rocket last week, and it's round on top. And everybody just kind of goes,
Larry David. But is it?
Is it? Anyway, thanks for joining us, folks. We're going to give you Macro Minute, Fantastic Futures, several stocks, and our reaction to those stocks. And then, of course, Pete's Red Zone Sports. So let's dive in with Macro Minute, shall we, Pete?
Let's do it.
So macro, I'm going to say that the equity markets rallied despite the fact that they broke the ceasefire almost exactly when it was declared. I mean, CNN was covering it, Pete, and the one newscaster, female newscaster, was saying, well, it's not really a ceasefire. And then Anderson Cooper goes, well, yes, it is. It was like, okay, no. And then, of course, Israel broke it. Iran broke it. We don't know who broke it first. But despite all that, the market still rallied.
Yeah.
So what does that tell you, Pete?
There's a lot of fuel in this market that wants this thing to start moving again. I mean, we've made a nice move, and, have we paused a little bit? Maybe a little bit. But I do see the same thing, John. I think there's one other factor that plays into this as well, and obviously that's the biggest factor. The other one I would say is it feels like there's a Fed governor almost on a daily basis now who comes out and says, you know what, I think we're going to have to cut. and so I think the combination of those things is why we've got this huge move to the upside that we're seeing today. Last I looked, the Dow was up over 400 points or thereabouts. So we definitely have a market where people don't look like they are in a fearful state based upon what's going on in the Middle East.
Yeah, and I'm sure everybody in mid-April regrets their move to the downside of basically exiting, which a lot of the people on TV were telling you should do.
Right. Yep.
And no, you should not do it, especially if you actually just do the simple math, folks. I mean, if you're going to have to pay, even if it's just 20% long-term capital gains, and you think you're going to time the market such that the market drops by 10% or whatever, and you're going to buy it right back at the bottom, you still didn't make any money after you paid taxes. So think about that next time people are scaring you out of the market. All right, Pete. So gold yesterday, or even this morning, was over $3,400 an ounce. It trades down $77 an ounce, and it's barely holding on to 3,330 right now. But I'm going to also pat ourselves on the back about the OVX, because once again, if you listen to some jokers on TV that don't know about volatility, whether it's the VIX that Pete covers all the time or the OVX, which is the volatility of crude oil, if you listen to those guys, you'd buy it at the high at 72. No, you buy it when it's at 25 and 30, and you exit when it goes up like that. In fact, today it's under 49, the OVX, Pete, and it was 72 this time last week.
It's been on an unbelievable run, John. I mean, I'll tell you what, you talk about the OVX, and it was at 34, got all the way up to 70, plus 70. And then now, like you were saying, last I looked, it was around 47. It's probably moving around a lot even today. I'm looking at that volatility index itself as well, John. That's down about 8% or more, because when you take a look at that, we actually dipped now underneath 18 when I did last looked. It was around 1786 or something like that for the VIX. So it's gotten to be an interesting range now. The range has expanded a little bit, but it doesn't take very long to get back out of the 20s. We were at 22 just the other day, and then get ourselves all the way back in position the way we are today, back in the upper 17s. That says a lot about where we are right now, where the volatility is probably headed. And I wouldn't be shocked if this thing continues a little bit of a path to the downside to some degree. But I don't know that we're going to get too deep into the 16s, but we might even see the 16s, not today, but over the next couple of days, potentially.
Well, let's dive into some stocks making big moves, Pete. And one of those stocks making a big move did a 1-for-15 split back in early June. So this is a big move today, nonetheless, because it's where it was yesterday versus where it is right now today. It made a triple-digit move, and it's holding on to 90% upside for an eczema treatment that Nektar Therapeutics, NKTR, put up and basically said, you know what? Every goal in the mid-stage study was met, and that's why the stock jumped so dramatically, even a new high on the year with that 1-for-15 split, Pete.
Yeah, an amazing move to the upside. What, 115% or even more, somewhere close to that. Anything when you get over 100%, that's pretty damn good for a stock, I would say. But you talked about the mid-stage and the fact that they hit basically every single thing that their goal was to get out there, John. And this is this eczema treatment. I think it's an unbelievable thing. But let's also remember, just to hit the brakes just a little, this is phase 2. Still got to go to phase 3. Still got to get approval. There's still things in front of it. But when you hit everything that was expected for you to hit, then you've done something pretty good. And I think that's the reason people are so excited, because even though it's only phase 2, they hit everything, absolutely everything. And because of that, now they're going to get pretty excited about, all right, the next level and the next level. So I think this is an amazing company that also has a pretty decent pipeline as well, John. So it's not just a one-trick pony, which I think makes it even more impressive where they are. Now, they haven't gotten anything out there yet, but they look like they're on the right path right now to get up there and get approval.
Yeah, and probably to get bought, quite frankly, Pete. Yeah. It's that kind of situation, folks. And I think that's why the people that are long this name are holding on, and the people that are short it are scrambling.
Yep.
All right, let's talk about Coinbase, Pete, because yes, we've had unusual activity basically frequently this year, but as early as the 10th of June, Pete, they were $5 in the money. Well, stock ran to over 300. So, let's say $55 or so, Pete. And then on the 20th, last Friday, they bought more. They came in and bought the August 300 calls with the stock at 304. Again, about $4 in the money. Well, stock today traded north of $333 a share, Pete. So this is, and one of the reasons, I'll tell you, it's because President Trump is really pounding the table, as he promised, to get legislation done before the August recess. And he's holding their feet to the fire to say, get me stable coin and coin, whatever, digital asset reform now. And that's why the stock is running.
Yeah, and I think because of the fact that the president has embraced this whole industry a lot longer than many other people, I think that is pretty meaningful. And the fact that he puts his foot down and says, hey, let's get this thing approved. Let's do this. You know, it's a company that's got an unbelievable balance sheet, John. When you look at that, you look at the free cash flow that they've got of $300 million. Everywhere you look with Coinbase, it's really hard to find too many, holes to punch in this thing. And I think because of that, it's something that it makes sense that the president wants to get done what he wants to get done. I think the embracing of crypto has really taken off. I think in the last, probably call it like 6 to 8 months or so, and accelerated as soon as the president got into office. So this is something I think that it's not just a one-day deal. I think, as you were pointing out, we are seeing this stock as one of those that's become one of the favorites to go after when people think that the crypto world is going to get a lot more attention than it did a year ago, 2 years ago, 10 years ago.
Well, Mr. Armstrong, Pete, the CEO over there at Coinbase, has to be a happy camper to see the stock nearly up $100 since the 10th of June. And we've still got, 6 or 7 days left in the month of June, Pete. And so we'll keep a close eye on it. And by the way, folks, if you want to get some of the unusual activity and trade it on your own, well, you should subscribe. Just check out the post on your screen right now that Jared's going to put up there for signing up for unusual option activity at Market Rebellion. We'd love to have you part of the team. All right, Amarin, Pete, AMRN, exclusive long-term agreement with a Milan, Italy-based drug company. And what do they have? They have something for high triglycerides that apparently looks very, very promising, Pete. And they're going to get a lot of money, millions and millions of dollars, to do this jointly with that firm in Italy. And who knows? Maybe the firm in Italy decides to buy them eventually.
Yeah, they talk. It's in this early stage, John, where they've done extremely well. They've had a lot of success. I think when you look at that, and this is a company that doesn't necessarily, they're not like a lot of those therapeutic companies, biotech companies, where they're really low on cash and they've got this burn. That's really not even the case for Amarin. This is a company that's got that, but this is just going to make that balance sheet stronger and stronger and stronger for them. I think when you look at what this partnership, if you want to call it that, really looks like, I think it's going to be very, very impressive going into the future. And I think that's why the stock, it jumped up. It was up 20%, 25%. Last I looked, it was up almost 30%. It is a stock that's on the move today because of the fact that this partnership really could explode and turn this thing into something much, much bigger than it is right now. So for that reason, I think this is one of those names. Do you chase it? You probably don't chase it, but you sure would like to see any kind of a pullback to give you an opportunity, because I think that they have a lot in front of them over the next couple of years.
Well, how about a company, Pete, that I must say a lot of people during the pandemic just threw this one out, baby with the bathwater, despite the fact that they've got extremely loyal following that just loves cruising. And that company, of course, is CCL, Carnival Cruise Lines. Mm-hmm. They revised full year guidance. They reaffirmed growth. And basically, this is one of the highest levels that this one's traded at since before the pandemic. And of course, during the pandemic, people were even afraid and couldn't go onto these ships. As soon as they could, they started going again. And now they're back in a big way.
But John, everybody tells us that nobody's flying, nobody's going on a cruise ship, nobody's going out to dinner, nobody's going, they're not going to Nordstrom anymore. They're not going, honestly, how many times do we hear all this crap that gets thrown at us that's probably not very accurate? And you can do your own boots on the ground, folks. You can go out to somewhere and take a look and see, are we seeing a lot of people out to dinner? Are we seeing people doing this and thing? The interesting thing about Carnival Cruise, they've done a magnificent job. Record pricing, John. They've got limited capacity. So that all sounds like things are going pretty well for them. And it is, and they expect that to continue. As you said, they raised the full year guidance. They reaffirmed the growth targets. The net income tripled, and then they beat on all the numbers for the Q2. So I don't know. This is one of those where you look at it and up 10% actually seems a little bit light. I would actually expect a company that's trading at a 13 PE and all that good that's out there, John. I kind of think that this stock actually has a little bit more to the upside. So I wouldn't view this as chasing. I would view this as this is a company that's clicking on all cylinders. And right now, I think it's got a lot more room to the upside.
Well, Carnival Cruise Line, Pete, they issued those bonds. Those bonds have performed hugely and now have, I believe, mostly been retired because once you don't need the cash, you can basically pay back those bonds instead of paying some exorbitant rate that you had to pay when you issued them. So doing a great job down there at CCL. All right, let's dive into your Red Zone Sports, Pete. What do you got?
All right, so it's a light time of the year. I'm going to just go out there and say that. You got the NHL, they're all done now for now. You got the NBA, they're kind of done now. The NFL is not really at camps. They've got certain camp type things going on, but that's not really going on. So what do you got left? You got Major League Baseball. And I find it interesting, John, because I didn't know this. I thought about it because I was looking the other day and I'd heard some of the guys on sports radio locally here in Minnesota. I'll tell you what. Do you know, you probably don't because I didn't know, who right now has got the best record in all of Major League Baseball? Well, a lot of people would say it's got to be the Dodgers. Maybe it's the Yankees. Could be the Cubs, the Phillies, the Mets, the Astros. Yeah, it's one of those. And the answer is no, 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 and no. The best team in baseball right now is, believe it or not, Detroit. And they are the best team put together as well, John, because how about this for just a couple of stats? They're in the top 10 for home runs. They got 89 of those. They're in the top 5 for RBIs, 377 of those. They also have batting average in the top 10. They've got a top 5 pitching, John, for their ERA. So it's the pitching side of things, 3.5 for that. And all of the bats that they've got, this is a team that right now at home, they're 26-12. On the road, they're 23-18. I just thought it was pretty interesting because, you know, as somebody who doesn't pay as much attention to baseball as maybe I should, or a lot of other people do, I got to tell you something, John. I'm looking at this going, since when did Detroit jump right back up like they were 30 years ago, 40 years ago? And I'm not exaggerating. This is a team, though, that as long as they can stay healthy, and they've got a few health injuries right now that they've got to deal with, but holy smokes. I mean, when you go through it and the fact that they're better than the Dodgers, they're better than the Yankees, they're better than the Mets, these guys are doing something really, really right as we're getting to about the halfway point just about right now for Major League Baseball.
Well, and Pete, how about this? They've got a Cy Young Award winner who's part of their pitching staff. That helps. They're one of the top pitching groups, as you said, both starters and relievers. And then hitting and run scoring, they're averaging 5 runs a game. You give any pitching staff 5 runs a game, they're going to be good. And if you have one of the top pitching staffs, 5 runs, you'd say, well, I bet they probably are blowing everybody away, which is what they're doing. And it's with guys like this guy, Pete. Nobody's heard most of these names. If you don't live in Detroit, you don't know who Spencer Torkelson, sounds like a Minnesota player, who he is. But he's hitting for power, 13 home runs, 40 RBIs. And you've got so many of his teammates that are putting up numbers that you'd expect from, exactly like Pete said, folks, from the Dodgers, from Aaron Judge and the Yankees, or even the Astros or whomever. But these guys are all playing on Detroit, which is pretty amazing, again, because they don't share TV money, folks, like the NFL, Major League Soccer, or the NBA. Major League Baseball doesn't do that. So when you're a team like Detroit, it's that much tougher to put together a team against the Dodgers, Yankees, Astros, and, like Pete said, Phillies and so forth.
Yeah. I got one other one for you because, you know what, we sometimes get lost on this whole thing, and I wanted to just point out. So the portal remains to be on fire, John, the football portal. And when you look at this thing, who right now is on the rankings? Who are the top 5? And you know what? I'm going to correlate it to one other thing, but I'm going to go through that first. LSU is number 1. Texas Tech, Miami, Ole Miss, and Oregon. 4 of those 5 are some of the biggest with NIL money in college football. So I wonder, they're just stacking them up, John. That's exactly what they did long ago. I don't know if you remember that whole era where, you could give away as many scholarships as you want. Then they finally had to bring that thing down or whatever, because you're kind of taking players from everybody else. And that was once you committed, you were committed to that school. There was pretty much not really any leaving. You might leave. You'd have to sit out a year and all the rest of it. But now at the portal, you can just get up and do your thing whenever you want. So it's pretty interesting. And the other thing that I'll just throw out there is the class of 2026 right now for college football. I say this because I pay attention to it because it's my school, but the University of Minnesota is somewhere in the top 12 right now for 2026 in recruiting for football. And Cal Berkeley is 14 or 15 out there, John. 2 of our favorite schools. So pretty interesting to see that for whatever reason, as a matter of fact, Minnesota just got the number 1 kid out of Minnesota. This is the 4th year in a row for PJ Fleck doing that. And people could say, well, big deal. It's Minnesota. It's not a big football place. Actually, it is. They go all over the country. And right now we've got the last 4 years worth of the first one. And this year we've got the top 4 that are coming out in 2026 coming to Minnesota. And it's really interesting. Yesterday, this kid Voss, who's a quarterback right now, he's going to be a tight end for the Gophers. But we've got an All-American safety, John, that, I watched this kid last year as a freshman, and I looked at him and I'm like, I don't know that I've ever seen a better player come to the University of Minnesota as a freshman and look like this kid looks. This kid looks like he's 22 years old and ready to go to the NFL right now. And that was last year. I mean, he's got nothing but sky is the limit. But it's just kind of interesting to see some of the success of schools where you're not talking about big money schools or schools that are, have the cachet to get out there like Ohio State and Michigan and some of the others. So kind of interesting to see how this portal's working as well.
Well, Pete, DeJean, that kid out of Iowa that, got the interception for a touchdown in the Super Bowl and played his face off all year last year, and one of the fastest guys on any field that he has ever played on. Some of these guys are, committed to staying in their state like that kid was, DeJean was in Iowa, or like your guy was in Minnesota. But even though you're, of course, right about LSU just knocking the cover off the ball in the portal, let me tell you about a school that if you got guys with a chip on their shoulder, Pete, they're a 3-star instead of a 4-star, and they were saying, I'm a 4-star. What the heck? I'm as good as any 4-star out there. Watch Ole Miss. Because Ole Miss, I'm looking at it here, Pete, they have 10 4-star recruits at Ole Miss through the portal. And they've got 20 3-star recruits. That's more than anybody. So if you want kids that, have that chip on their shoulder and probably are willing to put it out, lay it on the line as much or more than the 4-stars are because they didn't get that 4-star rating, watch Ole Miss because that coach is great. Your buddy Kiffin, Pete, is a great coach. And I think these guys are getting ready to light it up.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, Lane Kiffin, he's not only a fun guy, he's a fun guy to listen to. He's a fun guy in a lot of different ways, but he's a hell of a coach. And obviously, he's one heck of a recruiter because he's going up against all the big boys, the Alabamas and everybody else that's out there, and he's winning. So, I think this is going to be another interesting year, especially they lost the quarterback, obviously, to the NFL, so it's going to be interesting to see. But I guarantee you one thing, Lane Kiffin will have another quarterback behind him that's going to be pretty damn good.
Yep, I'll guarantee that as well. All right, well, thank you for joining us, folks. Remember, check out the unusual activity that you can sign up for. We don't give it away for free. We talk about it after the fact, of course. But if you want to get it while it's still fresh, then make sure you follow that link that Jared's putting up there for going to Market Rebellion and getting UOA Elite or 3 at 3 or any of our products, because UOA, unusual option activity, it's in our DNA. So make sure you check it out. And Pete and I will be back tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern time. Bang.